It's Wednesday, March 17th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. A Barbadian pilot who was terminated by regional airline LIAT has filed a class action suit against the Antigua and Barbuda government. The constitutional motion was filed last Wednesday and only acknowledged yesterday in writing by the state. It is challenging the constitutionality of the recently amended Companies Act, which prohibits anyone from suing the government over any claims against LIAT. Emmanuel Joseph picks up the story.
The motion, lodged by Barbadian pilot Captain Neil Cave on behalf of 9 other current or former LIAT flyers, is asking the Antigua and Barbuda High Court to declare that newly amended act unconstitutional. The claimants, who have named the Attorney General of Antigua and Barbuda as the only defendant, want the court to order that they be awarded costs and further and/or other relief the court may deem just. They are also requesting that the court declares that the Companies Amendment Act 2020 is in contravention of the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda to the extent that it purports to limit the claimant's right to access the court for a determination of the civil claim against LIAT 1974 Limited, which was filed in 2015 and was pending at the time the act was enacted by Parliament. In his affidavit, Captain Cave outlined 4 grounds on which relief is being sought. One ground notes that Section 15 of the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda guarantees a litigant access to the High Court and for the fair hearing of his matter within reasonable time. Another ground says, in that light, Parliament does not have sweeping powers to pass legislation adversely affecting the right to access, especially in circumstances which are not recognized by the Constitution. His sworn affidavit also argues that the Companies Amendment Act 2020 is inconsistent with the Constitution and unlawful to the extent that it seeks to prevent the courts from hearing and determining the LIAT pilot's claim, which has been pending before the court in excess of 5 years. The final ground declares that accordingly, the claimants are entitled to approach the High Court pursuant to Section 18 of the Constitution to obtain relief. According to Captain Cave's affidavit, the constitutional motion arose from a matter on May 27, 2015, when the 10 pilots instituted a claim against the employer seeking certain declarations and orders regarding pension monies deposited in an Antigua bank and prior to that into a CLICO International Life Insurance Fund without the authority of the pilots' union and in clear breach of the existing collective and other agreements. The pilots contend that the pension monies ought to have been deposited under the rules of the LIAT 1974 Limited Staff Provident Fund 1989 Trust Deed dated 27 June 1990, arising out of a 1977 arbitration award. The affidavit went on to observe that with the collapse of CLICO, LIAT pilots lost over $5 million in monies unlawfully deposited into the CLICO fund by the airline. No date has yet been set for hearing the class action suit. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
In other news, worrying developments at the country's primary juvenile correctional facility have sparked a wave of activism among scores of young people. On Tuesday, at least 4 youth groups called for the immediate closure of the girls' unit at the Govt Industrial School following the release of a disturbing image of a 14-year-old in solitary confinement. Under the social media hashtag Protect Our Girls, the Barbados Youth Development Council, Pink Parliament, You Report Barbados, and the National Youth Policy Coordination Committee signaled their intention to pursue a total of 10 recommendations on the matter. Here is President of the Barbados Youth Development Council, Roshana Trim.
Protect Our Voices really seeks to address some of these systemic issues that we have within our laws addressing juvenile justice. And what we are calling for would be for them to be reformed in a sense that we now move from a place where we are seeking to punish young people who are in the system towards reforming them and allowing them to fully contribute to society. One of the things that we've called for would be the removal of the wandering law, which is something that has been on the books for a very long time. Additionally, the fact that there is still solitary confinement for young people who enter into the Govt Industrial School is also concerning, as it violates several of the child rights agreements that we have signed on to as a country. And so what we are now saying is that we want to see a change, and we recognize that persons have been seeking to get this change happening. But young people in Barbados, like was said before, have decided that it has really been too long, and now is the right time and the perfect time in light of what has been revealed.
The Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance has identified 135 wells in 10 districts across the country that it has deemed critical and in urgent need of repair. The ministry's maintenance supervisor, Dwight Thornhill, made the disclosure during the estimates debate on Tuesday. The update came after Education Minister and MP for St. Michael South East, Cynthia Bradshaw, asked the ministry for a report on its well maintenance program.
At present, as I said, the acting general manager had said 68 have been completed and 37 are in progress. And we still have another 30 to go as well. And we have been doing work in Pinelands, Wildy, Parkinson Field. To give you specific numbers, we finished 19 in Pine, 10 in Wildy, 10 in Parkinson Field. We've also done work in the Deacon's housing areas and environs. That's Deacon's Farm, we finished 4 in Rosemont, and 11 in Fernyhurst. We also have done work in Watton, Gall Hill, Silver Hill. We have finished 7 in Watton, 2 in Gall Hill, and we have also finished 3 in Silver Hill. And we've recently started Haynesville as well, Haynesville area, but as I said, we've just moved into the Haynesville area. In terms of, as Minister Duguay had said, not only are we dealing with the critical wells, but we also have some other wells that we need to do, like desludging work. A lot of these wells had not been desludged for a while.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our Caribbean neighbors now, law enforcement authorities in Guyana recorded over 200 cases of trafficking of persons last year. Gordon Mosley of News Source Guyana has more in this report.
Although for most of 2020, Guyana had its borders closed and there was a slowdown in activities across the country as a COVID-19 curfew was instituted, the authorities still found themselves dealing with a large number of trafficking in persons cases. During a training program for members of the police force today on trafficking in persons, it was revealed that the crime remains a troubling one in Guyana. The training program was organized by the Ministry of Human Services. The coordinator of the Counter Trafficking in Persons Unit, Tanisha Williams-Corbin, told the participants that human trafficking continues to plague the Guyanese society, noting that there were 225 reported cases last year.
In 2020, the Ministry of Human Services Counter Trafficking in Persons Unit recorded identifying and assisting 225 victims of human trafficking. 225. It may sound like a small number, but if you take into consideration Guyana's population, you can understand why it's very, very, very concerning.
The coordinator also explained that the training program is among a series of initiatives developed by the unit and the ministerial task force to push back on human traffickers and help the victims.
And finally, on the international front, 8 people, 6 of them women of Asian descent, were shot dead in the Atlanta area on Tuesday. Police say a man suspected of carrying out all of the attacks was arrested hours later in southern Georgia. More in this report from the CNN.
The Cherokee County Sheriff's Department telling us that they have captured a suspect. They believe Robert Aaron Long, 21, of Woodstock, was involved in that first shooting scene. And that's who investigators were looking for. We do know that 4 people are dead at that scene. And then this is the scene in Atlanta where there are 2 separate shooting scenes. You have the Gold Spa, and then you have the spa across the street over there. 3 women were shot in one location. Another woman was shot at another location. We do know the suspect was caught in Chris County, which is about 2 hours away from here. There was a small vehicle pursuit, I'm being told, by some of sources that we've been able to talk to, and they were able to capture him. Not sure if they've been able to speak with him at all to figure out what a motive is. We also have not been able to connect him for sure to this scene at all just yet, but I can tell you that law enforcement in the metro Atlanta area was working with the theory that they were looking for that man who was 21 of Woodstock.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.